The Rambo movie is the American movies franchise. Is movies, some comics, video games, etc. Centralized is the character is the John Rambo as a U.S. Army Force veterans. This video about the Rambo movie review and fact. The franchise started with the novel The First Blood in the 1972 by the David Morrell, as the first movie is The First Blood in 1982. There are the five main films. The first is The First Blood is 1982. The Rambo is The First Blood Part 2 1985. Rambo 3 is 1988. Rambo is the 2008. Is the Rambo Last Blood is the 2019. Sylvester Stallone plays the John Rambo in all five movies. He is the also co-writer is the screenplay and the director is the fourth film in the Rambo 2008. The first film has the gross of the lots worldwide hundred of the million of dollars. John Rambo is the character. John J. Rambo is the veteran of the Vietnam War, has the experience in the war left him in the traumatized psychological scares. He has the special military skill, survival, guerrilla warfare, strength, and they are often used in the pushing into the situation where the innocent people are the threatened or the where the is the focus into the fight. Is a consistent theme. Rambo is the agriculture hero. He is the often the one to the pace. Withdrawal trying to the live quietly, but the circumstance force into the act. The face internal external conflict, internal become in the mental trauma and the moral demerit, extremely against the authority, the enemy in the corrupt system as the other villains. The movie each one in details. Now they one by one I care the cover, the plot, important theme, production fact, critical reception where the interesting trivia from the each film. First Blood is the 1982 plot. After the Vietnam War, Rambo the vendors in the US is the different. He is the meet the old friend named the Delmar Berry who is the die from the cancer. Castle of the Agent Orange Explorer. He is the entire is a small town who with the Washington. He is the sea berries. The window is the Widens. The town is the civil in the Testa in the sea in the Rambo think he is the just the drifter. Want to believe, then he Rambo refuse. It is the corporate police harass him. Molestation lead the Rambo is the run. It is the begin authorities treat him the hastily, triggering in the trauma. Rambo used the wideness survival skill and the avoidance is the people is the who is the world and the tension, violence and sale. Colonel Truman is the Rambo's old commanding officer. They try to the pressure the Rambo is the surrender. The movie ending with the Rambo giving in the speech to the Truman about the how the soldier returning from the war is not treated well. Theme: the treatment of the veterans, how is the war the change the people escape into the turning home. Isolation. Installation Rambo is the alone, misunderstood clash between the individual and authorities, survival psychologically and physical. Reception is the First Blood was the adaptation from the David Morrell. The first novel is the First Blood Stallone co-writer and screenplay along with the other. It was the directly in the Todd Ketfield. He is the modest budget is the but not good on the box office. Critical precise is the it is a depth. Acting is the style on Brian is the Shiffrin, Richard and the Karina and the Truman. Interesting and a little known fact. Despite the action, Rambo does not have the actually kill anyone in First Blood. Many assume he is the kill many, but in the fact the only that is the of the deputy get who is the fall from the helicopter after the confrontation. That fall is the accidentally not direct is the Rambo shooting. Rambo's name is the other David Morrell named him Rambo after the eating a apple of the varieties. The film was the powerful became the most psychologically dramatic and the pure action and the audience response he is the relentless in the moral complexity. The Rambo First Blood Part 2 1985. After the First Blood, Rambo is the prisoner and the detains from the refuse is the community with the law enforcement in the second film. In the US government is the office in the freedom and exchange from the going back to the Vietnam to the secret to the pause prisoner of the war. Rambo returned into the veteran with the American agent. He is the discover to the intelligence was the false and the betrayal from the many combat scene in the guerrilla warfare. Betrayal is a rescue attempt, action, explosion, Rambo fight not only enemy but is also people who is the missing from the try to the rescue prisoner. Focus the obstacle theme and the war in the aftermath in the Rambo still hunted by the past into the film touch into the idea rescued from the left behind. Material in the moral compromise patriotism but also explosion using in soldier for a mission under the false permission. Production and the reception. Director is the George P. Costume in the screenplay co-written by the James Cameron and the stylist story by the Kevin Jarvis. Budget was the moderate. Film made the big money. Rambo is the First Blood Part 2 is the one of the most commercially successful in this series. The gross about the US 300 million worldwide. The trivias and the fact. The film was a much higher body count, action scenes, and the First Blood. Critics both the precise and the criticism in the both more in the action spectacular. It was the dedication of the crew member who died during the filming. The Rambo 3 in the 1988 plot. After the first Blood Part 2, Rambo is asked by the old friend, the Colonel Truman, help in the Afghanistan against the Soviet. Truman is the focus on the supply the weapon of the support in the Mujahideen fighters. Truman is the capture by the Soviet force in the force, and Rambo does not into the Afghanistan rescue Truman. There is the big battle rescue sequence matter in the scenes of the war in the mountain trained. Theme is the friendship and the loyalty Truman and Rambo. Fortune Wars is the Cold War in accented political action origin spectacle big set piece. The production and notes. Directed and up to the beginning, Peter McDonald, who is the original Russell McLeany, was the head but left fire during the early production. McDonald took the over of the little time. At the time, quite the expensive lot of the action stunt. TVS is the horse of the Rambo is the ride into the Rambo third is the famous. Some horse in the based in the Indiana Jones and the Lost in the Crusade. Stallone has the near accidentally the helicopter blade on the set. Rambo 2008 in the sometime called the Rambo 4. This film is the return after the many years. Rambo is living quietly near in the Thailand, Burma, Myanmar border. He is trying to live in a simple life, catching snakes, sealing them, and the electus, etc., etc. And the group of the Christian missionary asked the Rambo to the guide and them on the Sylvian River in the entire Burma and to the help in the Korean peoples. He is the intensely refused in the day the accepted the mission because the dangerous but Burma army preside rebels in the missionary get the capture. Rambo is the stage rescue is the great violence. Theme is the humanity and the brutal explosions. Kerosene in the war and the continue inject surfing of the civilization. Rambo is the moral fight of the help of the people in the danger despite his the desire to the peace. Production and the reception. The director by the Sylvester Stallone himself. It was the independent production between the few studios rights and the pass around the after the earlier films. Some country ban is the heavily consider the film because the dispersion of the Burma military from the explain Myanmar banned. Interesting little fact became the strong political content and actually civil war human rights abuse is the barrel is the controversy. The violence is the most more graphic comparison in the some of the older films. Rambo: The Last Blood 2019. Plot: The Rambo is the now is the older he is the live in the Arizona on his father's range, helping to the old friend Maria is the caring the Maria's granddaughter Gabriela. Gabriela. Gabriela returned into the biological father is the Miguel. Living in the Mexico, she goes to the Mexico secretly to the confront him. He is the kidnapped by the Mexican cartel. Rambo goes into the Mexican to the rescue her. Is the confidential with the cartel. Rambo has the all of the survival and the combat skill. It is became a more personal story film. Veteran rescues theme. The Indian hero is the vast, the spect is the past, the catch in the personal stake, family, home, in the identity, violence, capely in the lost in the resort, theme in the just in the revenge. Production and reception. Releasing in 2019, style and the co-writer in the screenplay, but they did not direct the Alan Gunberg. Mixed the critical reception, some in the effects skill, seeing the Rambo was the Carter setting. Other flash story was the Viking into the dark violence. Trivia is some criticism from the original creator in the David has the found of the last blood is the during in the far is the movie serving so far and the kind of the closer of the Rambo though in the brilliant of the work of the 2025 common pattern rescuing morphine and the overall in the analyst they in the common thought is the series how into the character in the series involved in that the made Rambo popular entering. The realization is the warrior, the outsider. In the film, Rambo became into the inclusion here into the try in the story away, and living quietly, but the force inject the pull him in. This make character sympathetic is the how does work seek conflict into the own sake. Trauma, PTSD, psychological score, war. First Blood is the strong is the explorer how the trauma affected the veterans. Even the latter film, Rambo is the past in the influence in the education in the how is the very precise, authorized. Conflict with the authority is the rule. Local authorities is the government in corrupt in the local military etc. Offend the magistrate judge, misuse or the misunderstand the Rambo. This conflict in the center. The high action and the extreme violence. The explain the from the part is the third in the word in the level of the violation is the increase with his reaches film. By the Rambo 3 in the Rambo 2008 the last blood in the action and the bloodshed is the more exploit. The poverty injects in the human suffering in the loud the film is the suffering in the civil and the refuse in the miners in the killing in the people in Myanmar. Moral and Greece Eris. The Rambo is sometimes asked to the question and the think about the work and the people lie into the hymn. Brittle is the moral complex in the part of the appeal. Character growth and the aging. Over the 37 years, Rambo changed the physically older and the brittle in the by the memories, by the emotional personal stake. The iconography. Creating image in the scenes became an icono. Rambo was the Benden in the long hair early film in the survival in the wood, was comebacks in the rescue, etc. The some bigger box office behind the scene fact is the franchise is the whole is the earn the throw in the 800 to 900 million worldwide. The First Blood is remaining the highest grossing in the series. Style and co-writing the all film helping in the maintain continuity for the character, but the different director screenwriter mean the different in the tone and style. Some film has the production double and the age the Rambo third has the directly change early. In the right the Rambo change in the hand over time. This the studio's financial, political sensitive inference in the make of the latest film. The criticism and the controversies. The some fan in the criticism in this latest film learned to the too much the graphic violence into the motion depth in the First Blood was reduced. Rambo the Last Blood in the particle got the criticism is the how it the portrayed is the Mexican people quarters and the maybe use the stereotype. He also the flat in the ending was the too blank of the other while in the comparison in the build up. The franchise is the also difficult, but the balancing is the hero in the fantasy in the explore action. But their trauma was the moral cost of the violations. Some film in the success more than in the other in the balancing. Censorship in the band Rambo 2008 was the ban in Myanmar due to the negative inspiration in the military. The fan is TV is a little fact. The Rambo's name in the apple is the Arthur Moral in the Rambo apple is like his name. In the first Rambo's name John Rambo is took on the blood in the moral. I did in the think him in the first name is the John. Only one in the death in the Rambo first blood into the death is accidentally, not the direct case by the Rambo. Rambo 3 was recognized by the Guinness World Record at the extremely violence in the highest body count. Stylus in the nearly gets serious injury in the Rambo during the helicopter scene. Rambo 2008 was the ban in Myanmar. Recent future development. As the 2025 has the parallel movie in the development, John Rambo was the show in the early life of the John Rambo during in the Vietnam War before the first blood. Actor in the Nacho instantly it has been the cast of the play younger John Rambo is the prequel style in the not expecting to the involved in the action that one. How the watch order is the one to the Rambo series is the understood in the story etc. Recommended order. In the First Blood 1982, Rambo First Blood Part 2 the 1985, Rambo the 3 in the 1988 is the Rambo's 2008, Rambo the Last Blood in 2019. The summary is why is Rambo is important. The Rambo film is the more than the just action flick. They the tap into the deeper issue that's happened in the soldier war is the society treat them trauma, justice, revenge, moral and the responsibility. There is the franchise also the reflect change in the world. Is the could the war and make in the modern humanity crisis board the violence and drug cartel etc. The Rambo is the character is the icon. He is the symbolizes in the realizes in the some who the suffered, who the tries to survival, and he is the pushed back in the first. The film has been the inflict the action genre in the how to the event in the violence in the pop culture. The film in the Rambo is the often used the mean as a sword tone the against the odds. The Rambo is the first blood in the release in 1982. It's also known as the Rambo is the first blood. The director is the Ted. The writer is based on the novel the David Morrell in the 1972. It's a screenplay by the Michael Kogel is the William and with the combination of the stylist Sylvester Stallone. The main cast is the Sylvester Stallone as the Rambo, Brian is the Stuff, Will and the Richard Kane in the corner Sam Truman. As the music is the Jeffrey Goldsmith, cinematography is the Andrew. Runtime approximately 90 minutes. Is the budget about is the US dollar the 15 million at the box office is the roughly is the 125 million globally. Origin in the novels is the movie adaptation. The First Blood is the novel by the David Morrell in the published in 1972. The David is the creator and the character of the Rambo in this novel is the name is the Rambo In this, the first name is the John is the used. In the Explorer is the how the soldier returned from the Vietnam struggle. In the Renewed Gate is the into the society. The name of the Rambo is the came of the apple is the called the Rambo is the moral act is the also influence is the poet is the author is the Rambo. Plot is the earliest details the summary of the happened in the film is the setting in the backdrop in this film is the pace in the December 1981 in the United States. Rambo is the former member of the US Army Special Force and the rough in the Vietnam in the army. He the suffered with the PTSD in the trauma because he the went to the through the war, including being in the prisoner of the war. Rambo is the win of the discovery. After the vending, Rambo goes the house in the old fellow soldier in the unit. Demare in the Barry help to the find him. He the learned Barry died into the month ago with the cancer became by the exposure to the Agent Orange is the chemical used in the Vietnam War. He is that the Rambo is the last surviving member of the unit. Conflict with the law in Wen. Rambo walked into the small town in the called Hope, actually filmed in the Hope, British Columbia, looking for the work in the food. There's the town in the Siffinville, the Texas. He is the Rambo is the one to the drive him out. Tesla treats in the drifting homeless of the winning and the people badly. Rambo is the disavoy in the Siphon order into the leave town so when the arrest in the Vagrancy. Mistreatment and escape. While in the custody, Rambo is the mistreated, bullying and the harassment, especially his the head deputy, the art gain his the bring into the painful memories, flashback from his the time in the Vietnam. Rambo is the memory, the trauma build up to the until snap and to the escape from the police station. The manhunt is the violence in the ones the free Rambo use in the survival skill into the event in the police in the surrender in the violence. He get to the setup to the trap and the using the knowledge from the force that etc. and the shifting into the deputy organization in the parachute in there in the state police and then eventually in the National Guard are the call. Climax and the recession. The two-man Rambo is the former commanding officer come to the negotiate. He is the tried to the proceed in the Rambo and the surrender in the peacefully. Rambo returned into the town using the army truck. He is the commanded casing in the during in the heft the path in the desert, but he the make the statement. Eventually, facing no escape, Rambo is a stop, emotionally run out. Truman reaches to the him in convincing him in the surrender. Rambo is the main character of the motivation and behavior, the role. And the John Rambo, played by the Sylvester Stallone, he is the Green Beret, traumatized by the war, quite rough and but the emotionally winters. Is the Stephen Will, is the Brian Denny, is the proud, aggressive, hated different, try to the impose order, protect against the Rambo. Colonel Sam in the Truman. Is the Richard Cinnamon is the Rambo's former commander tried into the guide him, understand him in the voice of the reason, and the deputy is the Jack saying is the main the brutal deputy abuse the Rambo will the custody. The production effect and the behind the scenes location. Throughout the story in the set in the Washington state, many scenes in the film in the Hope, British Columbia and Canada. Casting history. Many actors was the offer the role Rambo for Stallone. He is including big name like Al Pacino, Clint Eastwood, Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, Jeff Bridges, etc. They denied for the various reasons to the violence or they did not want to play kind of the role. Stallone liked the character and the made the change into the book original script and the empathize Rambo is the victim side in the psychological trauma and the isolate is just not action. The famous survival knife used by the Rambo in this film was the specially designed inspired by the real world wild second survival knife. He is the handed to the survival tool is the match, scalpels and the fishing line, etc. Some production accident injuries Stallone was hurt during the one scene In valuation of the fall into the tree, he is the broke. The three ribs. Theme and the meanings. First Blood has the just is the action movie. Here is the deeper theme. D is the main ones. Is the PTSD is the after in the effect of the war. Rambo is the stepping into the trauma begin the prisoner of the war. Hit the flashback in the reason known than the mental pain. Society doesn't is understood but there is the adding to the pain. Alienation, isolation. Rambo is the alone. He is not job, is not home, know the direction where the go home. USA. It is not home. It is a psychological sense. He is the addition from the civilized life. Conflict between ontological and individual right. Stephen Tesla is response to the authorized use in the maybe in the Rambo span in the person who is the right in the dignity and the tension was the entity in the story. Moral ambiguity. The film avoid turning to the Rambo into the adventure hero who the skill everything do not the intent to the kill. The many injuries, the death in the index in the ambition make the story more the realistic. Socialized in the negativity with the veteran. Rambo is the war hero, but since the turn home, he is the neglect, forgotten the moral image is the film in the avoid the turning into the Rambo, individual hero who is the kill everything. He is the does into the kill the many of the injuries, death and the indirect. He is the ambity the make into the story in the realistic. Sociality neglect into the veteran. Rambo is the war hero, but he is one into the return home. He is the neglect, the forgotten society expert. He is the healing, but the ignore is the past. Which the critic who is the return in the soldier will not treat. At release is the first blood got the mixed review. Some critics precise some into the like in the curtain part. Over time became in the very successful in the influence hit the launch the Rambo franchise. He did well in the box office from the 50 million budget to the The gross is the 125 million is the big success. Interesting and the little known in the fact. Is this film was among the major Hollywood film about the Vietnam veterans effort and survivors psychologically damaged. Not just physical, he is the different the many war of the action film which the glorified in the violence more the difficult. The series of the Rambo is the film is the follow the change into the tone. First blood in the English is the most interrupted in the legacy with the film in the sequel. Empathize in the action in the big setup piece. In the impact in the legacy. The first film made the John Rambo is the iconic character that the film the image of the Rambo survival knife, green beret, haunted look that became the famous. The film influenced the many films about the veterans in the trauma. It's a show that the action movie can also address psychologically and the social issues. It started franchise Rambo the First Blood Part 1 and the Part 2, 3 and the 4 and 5. The name Rambo is the popular culture is the sum of the place using the describe someone tough survival or the lone fighter. Criticism and the controversies. The some people saw in the plot in the realism blaming in the of the law in the enforcement in the Otrial how is the one of the man could be the end and the many authority is the wildness. Change from the novel is the book is the Rambo is the most violent. Is the extreme in the some way the style on his the other sophisticated is the escape of the audience. To the make Rambo more the sympathetic, some critics behave in the film in the over simplify issue of the mental health of the PTSD. The other precise in the bring thought the issue in the mainstream action film. The comparison book is the movie. In the novel, Rambo is the more brutal, some scene and the darkest. The movie tone is the showdown of that. The movie gives the Rambo is the first name. John Will in the book did not. The movie changes the limit certain politeness and how the book in the keep things more focused on the mainstream film audience. The culture and show social context. After the Vietnam War, many soldiers returned home to the society in the world knows the rally in the wellness And the confidence that is the so experience in the first blood came into the first, then the America was the beginning to the deal more openly with this that issue. The film reflects the social discuss the fear is the outsider judgment based on the appearance. Rambo is the judge in the harass, but the became in the look in the fight out in the captain war in the wet. The some quite in a memorable line. They bore for the first is not me. Here is the key line said by the Rambo, meaning he is the force into the conflict. Emotional moment then Rambo recount the Vietnam witness in the horror, etc. They remind the audience in the action film tried to the human suffering. The Rambo First Blood Part 2 1985. Background, production detail, receptionist, influence, etc. in the simple English. The basic information. The full title is The Rambo First Blood Part 2. Releasing year in the 1985. Genre is the action, war and adventure. Is the running time in the around 1 hour 36 minutes. The crew and cast. The main character is the stylist Sylvester Stallone as a John Rambo. Other than important cast in the Richard Sena is the Colonel Samuel Truman. Julia Nixon is the co-pilot. The Vietnamese freedom fighters. Stephen is the backdrop is the late Colonel is the production. Is the Charles Nephew in the Martin Q in the George Keynes, etc. Director is the George P. Cosmos. Is the writer in the Kevin Jares is Sylvester Stallone and the combination from the James Cameron. The production and the producers is the Bed Fitson in the producer in the Mari. Casson and the Andrew and the Vision in the exclusive producer in among the other. Music and cinematography, editing, etc. The Jerry Goldsmith did the music. Jack Codriff is the cinematography, editing by the Martin in the Gold Pest. Plot summary. Here the one to the story is about the simple from the Jones Rambo has been the prisoner freedom in the jail because of the event of the first movie, the first blood, and the US government through the Colonel Truman offered in the Rambo deal. If the goes in the Vietnam to the investigate whoever the still American prison of the war alive and the criminal record will in the clear. Rambo agree, but is the order is the should be the take picture is the great and intelligent, not the direct rescue to the large combat. In the Vietnam, he is the met in the co both the Vietnamese women help in the reason they the work together. Rambo is the discover then the needed some Poe in the beginning held as the enemy Vietnamese military officers, some Russian Soviet investment. Kobau is the tragically killed in the during the mission which the first in the Rambo over the limit. The mission is the became the personally about the abandon is the just the overviews over the reading in the direct combat in the rescue in the Poe and the get revenge. Production and the behind scene. Script and the writer issue. James Cameron is the sum of the earliest scripting. Sylvester Stallone did the rewriting. There is the disargument about that the content the include and the disclude. Budget. This film has the budget is around 44 million. Filming location. Some of the shooting in the took place in the Hawaii, some in Thailand, Vietnam part in the simulate. I found in the source in the mention in the Thailand. Especially effect action scenes. In the movie there the large scale action scene, gunfight, set piece in the jungle, Vietnamese prisoner camps, rescue in the mission, the stunt effect in the more dramatic, compressed to the first blood. Reception in the first blood success. Into the US in the Canada is the made about the 150 million. Internationally similar amount the 149 million. Worldwide total approximately 300 million. Is the opening in the over in the 2000 theater in USA which is the all time was the record. Critically reception mixed with the negative review from the many critics. Some criticize in the plot is the logic and the overtop action and the dispatch from the more emotional tone in the first blood. Rotten Tomatoes is the score is the very high around the 36 from the critics. But the many fan love the overall became the cult classic and the action genres. Award nominees and critics. It was the nominated in the Survivor Grover Raspberry Award, which is the honor of the bad film, and the won the some worst categories. Despite the won the Academy Award the best sound editing. Theme and the different from the first film. Tone shift is the first film is the first blood was the more psychologically about the trauma authorized how the was the veteran in the mistreat is the inner struggle. Rambo is the first blood part 2 shifting more the toward action accepting rescue mission more than the signboard is the good versus bad welfare. Character is the Rambo is the first movie Rambo is the more repetitive. Trying to the survival want to be the left alone. He the sequel is the more production in the gone into the danger territory. Using the heavily weapon seeking rescue, revenge is the more complexity, less empathize and the action is the one side stand. Political culture respect the war into the still is the sensitivity object in the us in 1918. First blood part the second tap into the idea of the American power in the Southern Asia. Is the near concern about the many in the reflect in the 1918 Cold War attitude the enemy, villain, etc. in the US government in the role. Impact and the legacy. Culture icon is the movie solid faith in the Rambo is the major action hero. As the name Rambo became in the Southern found the extremely thought in the nearly unstoppable fighter. Sequel benchmark is the considered among the early experiment in the breakout sequel, meaning in the sequel made in the more money has a much bigger impact into the original. Merchandise and the media expense became the so popular the lot of in the merchandise, toys, videos and games etc. Influence in the action movie. Many later action films set in the 1980 follow the template of the first Blood Part 2 in the solo hero extortion location jungle foreigner country having the weapon rescue mission more emotional drive into the loss revenge patriotic themes. Interesting and the last no fact. The body count has the movie in the relative high. According to the fan wiki, Rambo alone is said have killed 57 people. It was the first film opened in the more than 200 theater in the United States. In this movie, strong box office leg, meaning in the capital of the money in the over survival key in the leather in the sum in the first weekend. The first is the script go through in the change. Sylvester alternate the part, especially increase the action reduce. the ambiguity is the John Cameron in the original draft has the some in the different. Criticism and the weakness. Many critics point into the logic is the plot sometimes does not make sense and the how the Rambo can the such a the large operation among the alone. It's the heavy action sometimes the overshadow is the emotional weight in some in the fast blood has the just in the action film. Sometimes they the portrayal is the Vietnam and the Russian is the over there in the stereotype. Villain is the note in the name. Is the financial number and the status. Is the budget is 44 million. Is the domestic gross in the US, Canada in the 150 million and the international gross in the 149 million. If the worldwide gross is the 300 million. Opening US theater in 2074 theater. Comparison sequel information. Is the second movie the Rambo franchise? The first became in 1982 and this one is the 1985 and the Rambo 3 in the 1988 and the later than 208 and the Rambo is the Last Blood in 2009. Comparison the First Blood is the more action-packed, less about the internal struggle, but the more external in the mission in the help defined in the style and the big budget action film of the mid-18s. Why the special with the made in the big? At the time the action movie became a huge, but the Rambo First Blood is a part it the game give an audience sometime they the maybe wanted more in the clear good in the evil big adventure heroically resume emotional stake into the patriotic statement they name recognize First Blood alternate made the Rambo no is a sequel used in the public. People but the experiment into the war rescue territory. Timing mid-18th Cold War affecting the story invasion, the Vietnam War and the American War, the trauma revealed. It is the detailed fact in the full overview from the Rambo 3 in 1988. Basic information. The title is the Rambo 3 in the alternate title in the sometime called the Rambo First Blood Part 3 in certain place. Releasing date is the May 2000, May 25 in 1988. Generic is the action and war movie. Is the language is the English. Is the runtime is the 101 minute. Is the country is United States. Is the key people. Is the Sylvester Stallone and the play John J. Rambo is the forgotten war hero and the Vietnam veterans. Richard Sena and the Colonel Sam Truman is the Rambo's mentor in the friend. Director Peter is the McDonald is the writing the Sylvester Stallone and the Sheridan Littis. Is the music by the Jerry Goldsmith and the other villain is the Mac Terry in the play in the Colonel Jerris. The plot summary in the simple English. In the starting point in the John Rambo is trying to find people he is the helping in the build in the Buddhist temple in the Thailand, living way into the way from the war. Called to the mission, Colonel Truman come into the Rambo is with the rescues with the mission in Afghanistan to the assist in the Mujahideen fighter against the Soviet forces, but Rambo is the refused. Truman is the captured. Truman goes the alone is the ambush in the take the prisoner by the Soviet force led by the colonel. Rambo's decision. Then Rambo find about his the decision but they the dispute the warning of the danger. Even thought it the officially stopped alliance of the Afghanistan. Rambo's work with the rebels fighters. Local Afghan fighter is the find to the rescue the Truman. Rescue of the battle. There are the many action scenes. Rambo fight the Soviet soldier, stealth attack and the rescue prisoner had the the heavy weapon, etc. And the one point the manager and the commander in the helicopter. Climax. The Rambo reach in the Soviet base, the rescue the Truman and the big showdown in the villain colony in the his force. There is the also dramatic change in the movie. Ending in the heavy fighting Rambo is the Truman escape in the injured and the movie ended the Rambo in the message is asked to surrender in the film in the dedication of the guarantee of the people. The production and the behind scenes. The budget is very large that time. The estimate between in the 58 million to 63 million. At the point it was the one of the most expensive film made. Filming location, sometimes shooting in the Thailand, and the many scenes is the Afghanistan filming in the real natural setting. Make the war scene in the realistic theme and the message. The cost of the war is the tool of the human life. The friendship and loyalty is the between the Rambo and the Truman in center. It is the idea of the man standing against the powerful force into the rescue someone heroism. Is the conflict in the set during the Soviet-Afghan war. The so there the political backdrop. There the film is not deeply political and the analyst. Reception in the impact. Is the critical response is the mix to the narrative from the many critics to the was the precise the someone of the action sequence and the specially but the synchronize in the plot possibility in the from the beginning in the over the top. Rotten Tomato is was the lowest score box office financially his make of the money worldwide. What became is the very large budget is the someone market in the US is the many not has been the profitable has the hope. Interesting in the less known fact. Dedication. Is the film ending in the dedication in the core, the clan. Rambo's the internal conflict. Rambo start in the of the refuse of the war to the help the showing in the try to the leave from the world behind. It is the change of the earlier Rambo movies. There the more force into the conflict. Weapon in the action set piece in the film feature large scale action, ambush, heavy machine gun, Soviet helicopter rescue mission, inflict in the Soviet base into the dramatic cave, etc. Soviet Afghan war setting. In that time in the 1918s in the Soviet Afghan wars were the ongoing in the 1989 to 1989. Using the movie backdrop in the film remained some critics and the audience flat with the using in the war and the more backdrop emerging in the deeply in the human cost and the challenging. Because the budget is the logistic of the shooting and the scale of the marketing and the Rambo was the difficult film cost and the cost and has the very financially and the scope. The someone say in the people in the detect in the possibility Rambo offend the near superhuman fat, many injuries, emotion depth. Compared in the first blood in the Rambo was about the PTSD, isolation, and the cost of the war. The Rambo 3 is the most about the action and spectacle rather than the psychologically extortion in the some fleet in the politics in the context is the use the more than action and the explore and the meaningful. The legacy. It is the third film of the Rambo series. It is the first film in the Rambo is the first part 2 in the Rambo is the part 3. It is the solidifying in the Rambo is the image of the one of the most iconic action heroes in 1918. The series is now well of the huge action gun solo mission. Even the thought the Rambo the God mission in the revenge. Many fans enjoy the action and the big battle and the epic scenes. In the budget in the 58 to 63 million US dollar. Gross revenue with the overview of the box office was a large, though the less the first blood part to someone market. Here is the full detail in the many fact about the Rambo 4. It is simple English. Basic information with the title is the Rambo is the also known as the Rambo 4 is the accident of the John Rambo. Releasing year is 2008 is the many place sometime the people refer into the 2009 depending on the local releasing date. Director is Sylvester Stallone, who is also co-writer in the film. Writer is the Sylvester Stallone, is someone in the collaboration with the art is the also credit. Producer is the Avi Latin in the Kevin King and the John Thompson. Cinematography is the Galen McPherson. The music is the Brian Taylor's. Production company is the Millennium Film and the News with the image in the other. Budget approximately is the US dollars 47 to 15 million and box office the gross in the 113 million worldwide. Story plot. He is the help the movie in the simplest step. The background. The movie set in the near border of the Thailand and the Burma is the region of the long civil war going into the Karen people in the group of the Burma and the suffering into the under the Burman army. John Rambo is the play by the Sylvester Stallone. He is the retired soldier is the long the live quietly in the North Thailand. He is the work as the snake catcher, fishing and the helping people across the river, etc. He want to stay from the violence. The mission of the missionary. A group of Christian missionary led by the Michel is the want to be a medical help, food and supplies in the Kiran village. He is the asked to the Rambo to the guide them and up to the Sylvan river in the Burma became in the roads and the dangers. The first film in the rescue became into the one to the go to the involved, but the Sir is the million part of the group. Pedes in the film outgoing the help in the meme. People matter the equality. Rambo agrees in the take them. Attack and the kidnapping. Where is the reach of the village and the attack by the Burmese military under the commander called in the major tenant and the village is the misguided in the survival include the someone missionaries and the take in the competitive. Is the forming in the rescue team. In the back to the Thailand, they after the missionary can to the return and the pastor raising the money and the gather then group of the miscarried in the rescue them. He is the asked to the Rambo to the help. Rambo in the first Tyson, but they are the latter join in the rescue effort. Rescue operation in the conflict. Rambo and the missionary is the scared into the jungle. Travel to the military camp, rescue the competitive degnish in the combat. Many battles happen to the fight with the Burmese soldier using the guerrilla and strategic landmines boats in the improve in the weapons. Rambo used the Talboys. The bomb is the large British World War II bomb. There is the donate in the jungle, learning in the Burmese army and the donate is the Achilles. This is the help kill the many people soldiers. Climax in the revolution in the fight them and the Rambo into the McKessie and the Cannon rebel in the combined with the takedown in the Tenet, who the minor character is the big action sequence. The villain major is the P in the killing in the bitter V in the after the rescue. Rambo returned into the use to the visit the father in Arizona. Theme into the film tried to the show. The war into the effect. Rambo is the veteran, he is the character, the physics in the emotional scare. The movie is the show, then the where does not the help people like even it try to the live quietly. Human suffering in the operation and there the killing people in the struggle under the military operation in the central part of the film, trying to the highlight of the violence against the civilians. The human rights violations, the moral responsibility. There is the question about the Rambo is the get the invite into the stay away. Can one other person action in the matter? There is the missionaries is the other challenge is the Rambo empathies. Violence. But the cost. Even the action happened into the show in the messy, dangerous in the moral heavy. Rambo does not treat the violence like fan. Production and behind the scenes effect. However, the some interesting fact about the who the movie was the made. Location. The much was the filming in the Chiang Mai, Thailand. Is the also part done in the Mexico and United States. Set the scale, production design, build the Burma's village, set the rice paddies, bamboo sticks, and the build in the replica boat in the pirates boat. The navy patrolling boat is the use the many vehicles. Crew and the etc. The film is the large crew with the many nationalities. 13 different nationality in the mentioned. 100 of the etc. many local in the Thai and the Burmese people in the participate. Some ask in the remain anyone became for the political risk. Challenging to the during film. Working in the thought the jungle condition, heat, rain, insect, snake, etc. Rain machine shooting at the night, filming in the monsoon, torn season. burning season is the silent. He is the ash concealed in the falling. Violation and realism. Stallone went to the film in the show real graphic violence. He is the belief in the necessary became his the film is budget is the seriousness of the subject. Total variation. The film work in the title was the John Rambo, but the some market change in the short line. In the silence, in the throughout the people in the final call the John Rambo. Critic reaction. The mixed people precise the style on the perform action sequence, cinematography, music, but the some criticism was in the plot, in the political cinema, in the over purifying in the complex issue. There is the high level of the violation. Box office issue, yes, is the made more than the double it the production budget. Controversial political issue. In the Burma, the film was the banned by the government because of the portrayal in the military regime in the human rights abuse. Some Burmese activities in the rebel group said the movie gave them hope in the spotlight their struggle. There the use the line in the symbolic of the film. Legacy. The film revived the Rambo series after the many years to the provide the Rambo 3 the long ago in the 1980s. To the led the next sequel Rambo in the less blood in the release in the 2019 much later. Interesting detail in the trivia. The crew looked into the product into the entirety of the many local aspects of the Burma become to the danger of the Burmese government and the filmmaker built in the compact the Burma in the set the more than 50 buildings over the 4-acre jungle. The many languages spoken in the set, many nationality among the actors, etc., and the crew, and the add in the realism that the powerful scene, individuals in the landmine feel in the prison in the fox. Cruel entertainment never invested in the arrow strength, the save in the sense in the viewer in the must and intense. In the tell boy bomb is the film is a very large World War II. Bomb in the movie used the dramatic effect on the question plausibility add to the dramatic intent. Criticism what the people do not like. Some flatten the people political portrayal in the simplify into the paint in the side in the lot. The real conflict in the Burma in the complex. The violence is the very graphic. Some viewer find it the excess more action fan wrote in the plot into the element rescue mission, brutal villain, heroic survival. Is not many twists in the stand and the action genre. The first film Rambo was the different tones was the original fact about the more one to the does hit the man about the trauma survival. Rambo 4 in the return to the action and war zone, but there are more graphic violence in the main the modern political frame. Rambo was the ordering scaring instead of more living family. Many battle in the red league in the responsive in surface that in the take the action and the film balance between the action spectre the heavy serious mess. Possible the weak point in the make to the better. And the character development the side character is the not deep. Is the many miscreants is the village of the not much backstory. He is the taking some time and introduce in the long action sequence. He is the hero is the very strong in the game in the believe he is the pure tension. The fan is the action movie is the film delivered in the intense action, good combat scene, fight choreography, Sylvester Stallone performance is the sprint, efficiently become the order in the still management look in the physically capability. Here the movie does not shy from the away in the showing suffering in the music, give the emotionally weight.